to our next segment. We have our worst to first segment, and this week we are doing the division leaders of the NFC. All right. I'll go first, Nick, if you don't mind, and then I'll let you go first in the next segment. And I'm gonna go through these quick because I think we've already talked about all these teams more or less. But my worst to first, starting at the bottom, may surprise some people. I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They just had a tough loss to the New Orleans Saints. I think they're struggling defensively some. I think on offense, they have games where they seem unstoppable, but somehow when they face a few defenses that match up to them somehow, some way, I don't know how people match up with that offense, they can get slowed down. There is a weakness. There are chinks in the armor, and they are the one team really out of this group that has consistently showed chinks in the armor throughout the season. Very first game against Dallas, they almost lost. They've lost a few other games, but to me, they look like the weakest group of the bunch. In third place, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. It's pretty close between third and second to me with them. I think they look very, very strong. I think they look very, very strong this past week, and Dak wasn't even in. I think they have a great offense. I think they're very, very, very playing very well defensively. For who they have and what they've been working with, they really look like they've turned the corner. They've had defensive woes the past few years, but they've really, really made some strong draft choices, and I think it's helped them out tremendously. In my number 2 spot, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I know there's technically a tie between them and the Chargers. I find them the superior team over the Chargers, and I think they add Von Miller. If he has any juice left in the tank, maybe he adds on a little bit more pressure in the pass rush. It's not going to hurt the team. If they want to trade away all their draft capital to put players on to try to win a Super Bowl now, go ahead. But that's such a strong defense. It's such a strong offense. It really, really comes down to why they're not number one is there are so many pieces that haven't played together for so long that I don't think they mesh quite as well as my number 1 team, who is the Green Bay Packers. I think LaFleur, Rodgers, Devontae Adams, a pretty decent O-line, Aaron Jones, and a defense that has been doing nothing but improving every week. They beat at the time the best team in the NFL without like half of their starters. They look to me to be the most dangerous team in the NFL right now.
Yeah, that's a good list, Mize, and I've got a lot of agreement with you on a number of these, but I'll go ahead and get cracking through mine. For me, my number 4 is Dallas. I was going 3-4 between Dallas, Tampa Bay, where to rank them, and frankly, Tampa beat Dallas. So even though Tampa has 2 losses, I gave them the slight edge. Dallas number 4 strictly because their defense is better, but I still think they have some holes. I think offensively they're very explosive and very talented. But I when it comes to, I look a lot at quarterback play, and I think Prescott, while he's had a great year, falls a little short at some of the other guys on this list. And again, I don't necessarily trust that defense 100% against elite competition. And, like I said, number 3 for me, that's Tampa. And that just is, they were really high up there, probably number 1, lost to New Orleans, obviously set them back. But I still think this is an elite contender to win the Super Bowl at the end of the year. They're very, very deep. The one issue is that they are beat up in the secondary. Teams will be able to throw on them. We saw the Rams do that a couple weeks ago when Tampa played the Rams in LA. But I think they'll figure it out as the year goes on. Again, Brady late in the season, Brady in the playoffs. That is a tough situation. Number 2 for me, I'm going the Rams. I think, like you said, they're a tie with Arizona, but I think they're the far superior team. I think they have no holes on defense. I don't think they needed Von Miller. They had a disruptor in Aaron Donald. They had a good outside linebacker, pass rusher in Leonard Floyd, shut down corner in Jalen Ramsey. They got enough positions on defense. Offensively, what can you say? Cooper Kupp is setting a record pace at wide receiver. They've got a good enough offensive line and a solid running back core. I would have liked them to maybe pick up some depth at those position groups if they did anything during the trade deadline. But nonetheless, they look like a really contender. McVay's done a great job again with that team. They're the number 2 team in the NFC. And then number 1, just like you, I'm going Green Bay Packers. I had questions about their roster going into the season. They showed their depth against Arizona. Like you said, they're missing a lot of guys, and they came out and won that game. A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones took over that game with that offensive line, who, by the way, are still missing their all-pro left tackle, David Bakhtiari, and they still physically beat up a quality Arizona defense in Arizona. And that defense of Green Bay, their ability to make plays in the red zone, I think obviously won them the game against Arizona with that late pick. They made plays in the red zone against Washington the week before. They're starting to feel their groove a little bit. And then you always have number 12 and Aaron Rodgers. He'll always find a way to get you a few wins in the playoffs. I think this Green Bay team is a real threat. And if they keep this streak up, they'll have home field advantage in the playoffs. And I tell you what, going to Lambeau Field in January time, when it's time to win a big playoff game, that is a tough place to win a game. And I think they're going to be in a good situation the rest of the year.
Before